What is up, team? Welcome back to the UFC Gym Raw Life podcast for UFC Gym Indy. My name is Jordan. Beside me, as always, is Josh and Donovan. We are live today on a Wednesday afternoon. How you guys feeling?
Feeling incredible.
Great. Amazing. Never been better.
Never been better.
Not once.
Wow. That's big words for quarantine.
Beat that.
Yeah. Jeez. For those of you that don't know, Donovan is on all kinds of dotFIT supplements such as pre-workout, glutamine, everything good.
24 hours
and
a day.
Wonderful 24 hours a day. That's why he feels awesome, right?
Good plug.
Let's talk about things that are not awesome.
Oh.
Sports injuries.
Can you hit us with the more?
Oh. There it is.
Producer Chris is getting it. He's getting the hang of it. He'll be all right.
He'll be good. Producer Chris with us. That's okay. That's all right. So after that, Josh, you got some sports injuries, man. You got some stuff that's been going on with you. We don't have to dive into too specific, but if you want to kind of talk to the audience about what's happened, you know, we're talking recovery. So your kind of approach to recovering from those situations, I would say both mentally and physically. Anyone that's ever had an injury knows that mental, a mental comeback is just as important as a physical comeback when it comes to that. So if you elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, so 31 now. I had my first real serious injury at 14. So I was in PE class in high school my freshman year, just playing volleyball in PE, jumped up, landed. My kneecap completely dislocated. It was bad, but I was in sports my whole life, so baseball, wrestling, football, basketball, boxing, martial arts. At that time, at 14, I didn't really do the martial arts as much, but the other ones I was playing pretty much year-round. So I elected to not do any surgery at the time and just kind of kept playing through. That kneecap never got right. It would pop in and out almost every month, at least once. It would usually not be too bad, but every kind of 3 months or so it would dislocate completely. It was just a whole thing, and then it would be bad. And that went on until I was 22. So for 8 years, I just rode it out and just kept going because I was trying to ride out with sports and keep playing through. Had my first surgery on it when I was 22. So I got that done down here in Indy. Dr. Shelbourne, shout out to him because he saved it. It was horrible. When I saw him, he told me, he was like, man, he's like, I usually don't want to do this type of surgery for someone that's as young as you, but your knee is completely messed up. We got to do something about it. So we did it. The recovery for that was almost the same as like an ACL. So my ACL wasn't torn, but I did have my PFL torn, a bunch of cartilage, obviously, and my kneecap essentially like healed off a line since it was so wrong. So they had to go through, break my shin, put plates and screws in there, do all this stuff. So that recovery was pretty tough. I was on bed rest for 5 days after the surgery. Couldn't do anything in a machine, just moving my knee, doing that. And then so obviously kind of what you touched on, the physical aspect, but the mental aspect, someone that's my whole life has been about sports, playing sports. That's my passion. That's what I loved. Even when I was done with my sports career, I still played basketball 3 times a week, like organized with friends. I was still in baseball leagues. I was still doing all these things. So, and then obviously fitness became a passion of mine as I probably about that 17, 18, I became more into fitness, and then started 2021. I got really into it. So then having the surgery, getting weightlifting and training that way taken away too. That was the toughest part for me, was going through that. I mean, physically it's tough. You gotta fight through it, but then the mental aspect. So fast forward now from 22 to my last surgery was at 29. So in that 7 years, I had 8 surgeries total. So I ended up having 2 on my left knee, including the one I spoke of, 2 on my right knee. I've had 2 surgeries on my forearm, wrist area here, and then 1 on my hand, and then a kidney surgery. So my kidney was blocked. So I had all those, and kind of the process of building it back up. So it's every time it's frustrating, obviously, with you knowing that you got a new setback, a new thing going on that you got to attack, go on there. But after a few, I kind of just started approaching it. I mean, I looked to my favorite athlete ever was Kobe Bryant, RIP to Kobe. And I kind of took a page out of his book when he was talking about it. And he essentially said for the mental aspect, you just have to fall in love with the process of starting over. So especially all of us that are in the fitness life or athletes or anybody that has that mindset that where you just want to get back, you want to go, especially when our age growing up, it was always about, throw some dirt on it and get back in there and kind of just tough it out. And so those first few, especially, like I would always just try to push myself too quickly, get back, do too much. So Kobe kind of talked about just falling in love with the process. So you make these small goals. So every time, whether it's okay, this week, these first 2 weeks, you just got to rest and recover, do that as best you can, mark off these goals. Then you start your PT, whether it's you're just barely learning how to walk right again or whatever the case is. And then you get in, you can finally lift 10 pounds so just getting excited about that, doing 10 reps of it. And the next time being able to do 12 and just getting those small goals. It's good to have the big goals to get back to where you want to be, but if you don't celebrate the small goals along the way, you're just going to get frustrated and you're going to do too much and you're going to set yourself back. So it definitely took me a few of those injuries to go through it, to realize that and learn it and do it. But I think that's the biggest part that you have to kind of get used to, is that having that mental aspect that you said. So
yeah, I think it's important to talk about goals too when it comes to that kind of stuff, because small goals are, in my opinion, sometimes small goals are more important than long-term goals, right? And small goals, short-term goals, I guess, are different. But when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, you have, what a long-term goal I would consider would be 6 months or more. Short-term goal would be, 30, 60, 90 days, right? So when we talk in fitness, when we talk about fitness consultations, working with people about specifically weight loss, right? 1 to 2 pounds per week is a pretty good benchmark as far as what healthy weight loss should look like, depending on the person. So we obviously set small goals there, right? When people say, I want to lose 40 pounds, Donovan, what do you say? I want to lose 40 pounds. I've got a wedding in 8 weeks. Can you make that happen?
I was going to say, my first question is by when? Because yes, we can do it. 8 weeks, that's aggressive. That's real aggressive. So you got to have more attainable goals. SMART, right? Isn't that the acronym?
Smart. Yeah, you can lose it. It's just not going to be healthy.
Right.
I mean, people cut weight for fighting is just going to come back.
Right.
People can do it. It's just not going to stay off, right? Sustainable goals. That's the thing. So.
Yep. SMART, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, or attainable. Are they realistic? And you always have to put a time frame on it. Gotta have a time frame on it. So 1 to 2 pounds per week if you're trying to lose 40 pounds. Quick math, I don't know. More than 8 weeks though, if I had to think about it, right? So same thing goes with muscle, right? Donovan, I want to put on 15 pounds of muscle.
By when?
Right. Yeah.
Always first time.
Always first. I mean, hypertrophy or muscle building happens in 10 to 12 weeks.
Yep.
You still have to have those muscular adaptations that happen. Your body has to adapt to sustaining more muscle mass, right? So goals are definitely important. I'm glad you brought that up. It's a good thing to talk about, especially for recovery, right? You got to set small-term goals, short-term goals, small goals for yourself to be able to mentally get around the barriers, right? Because if you just set this goal that, hey, I'm going to, I had this knee surgery and I'm going to start running again in marathons 6 months from now, break that up because you're going to be severely disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's with anything. I mean, if your passion is not fitness or sports, but you think about you're an artist and you love drawing and you break your dominant hand and think about the process of not being able to do that, like how frustrating that would be. It's the same thing. I mean, it can be applicable to any type of injury that you're going through, that if you have something that you need to build back up or whatever, it's just, I think that the mental aspect of those things doesn't get talked about as much as going through. I mean, a lot of athletes and a lot of people are just like, oh, the recovery, I can power through this. I can do this on my own, or I can get somebody, I can go through the rehab, I can build it up. That's all good, the physical aspect of it. But yeah, it's that mental part of, like I said, if someone, you can even attribute that to kind of correlate that to someone that does artists or something, they can't do that. Or if it was a singer and they rupture their vocal cord or something, you got to think about, if you're just like, I just need to get back, I want to be able to draw again or paint or sing, whatever it is, whatever your end goal is, if you're just, all you're thinking about is getting back there and that's what you're doing, you're going to be miserable for those 6 months, 8 months, a year that it takes for you to get back, because you're like, why is this not happening yet? That's all it is. So you really, really, really have to set those small goals and get excited about it. I remember I'd be in an empty gym and I lifted a third of what I could normally lift before my surgery, and I would just get so excited, like by myself, just like, yeah, man, I finally did that little part. And it was, like I said, a fraction of what I would normally do prior to the injuries, but I would get excited and I'd be like, all right, awesome, making progress. You get those little things, and it's huge, and it helps you keep going. It helps you stay motivated to go and to not get discouraged. I mean, that's what I think of. A lot of things can happen in sports injuries and fitness in general, or like we were talking about, just weight loss, weight gain, muscle gain, whatever. If you're not seeing those results right away, people get discouraged, and they're like, oh, you have to set attainable, realistic goals for yourself and celebrate those. That's another thing. Just because you set those small goals, you need to make sure you celebrate them too, so that you feel that satisfaction and that excitement about the next ones.
Right. Yeah. And breaking those barriers, as far, in my opinion, there's no goal too small, right? So breaking that barrier really helps mentally. I mean, the famous example would be the 4-minute mile, right? Way back in the day, people didn't think you could run faster than the 4-minute mile. And then all of a sudden somebody did it, and then 3 or 4 people broke it that next month as far as the 4-minute mile. So once you break through that barrier, your body tells you that you can do it, and it just helps you mentally is just the biggest aspect of a recovery process from an injury, in my opinion. And I know, Donovan, you have a different experience when it comes to injuries, if you want to expand on that.
Yeah, I've got a few, I've got a laundry list, 8 surgeries, I think, to be exact, just like you.
Hey.
Somebody
needs to get one more to break the tie.
Yeah.
Most of them younger, but the more sport-related ones, hernias, I've had 4 of those. My most recent hernia was high school, and I got it during the season, during football season. And like you said, you just kind of play through it, just as everybody has realized in sport, which is not what you're supposed to do, but that's just kind of the way it was. So had hernia, took me out, and just like you, coming back is the worst part, trying to do that. I had a little bit of money to play some D3 football and baseball, but they lost interest after getting that hernia as well. So there's a huge aspect to coming back from it, because it's easy to just throw yourself a pity party and, feel bad about yourself. But what I always did was think, whatever I'm going through, somebody is going through something worse. So I need to get over it. So just like Josh said, setting those little goals to come back from. Another injury I had, probably the most serious one, was I broke my hand in football. I got my hand smashed between my face mask and somebody else's, and it doesn't work, like, to this day. I was right-handed up until my junior year, but then, like, I can't pick that cup up with my right hand. But my left hand is what I had to switch to, so I'm back to normal. And nobody ever notices, because I just, set little goals, like, all right, I can't write with my right hand anymore, so I'm going to teach myself to write with my left, or I'm not going to graduate from high school. So set little goals, like relearn the alphabet with your left hand, just redo everything.
Wow.
But yeah, there's a huge mental component to coming back from it.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible, right? Having to completely imagine that.
I live going.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to imagine.
Well, I was just thinking, I broke my dominant hand too, and I was just thinking about the 3 months, or I don't remember how long it was now, because that was a long time ago, but however long I had in a cast and I couldn't use, and I had to only use my left hand. Thinking about having to do that forever, learning it, but I was just like, this is horrible. Like, you don't realize how, unless you're really ambidextrous, how much you don't use your offhand for things like even brushing your teeth feels weird, eating. I mean, I couldn't imagine having to relearn all that.
I switched half of it and kept half. So if we throw a football out here, I'm throwing it with my right.
Okay.
But if I try to brush my teeth with my right, it just won't.
Oh, gosh.
It won't happen. It curls up, and there's just
it
can't be done. That's why it's more comfortable for me to put the laptop in my lap, is because that's the way my hand naturally folds down. So there's just so many things I had to just change and just deal with it.
So for those of you that don't know, I give Donovan a really hard time because we have these desks here in this office, and he refuses to use it because of his laptop. So
you feel bad now, don't you?
I feel like a horrible person.
No, nobody knows. Well, now the whole world knows because of the podcast.
Yeah, the whole world does know now.
I know. No, usually, I mean, it's not a big deal, so I just kind of go with it, and I don't know. It's just a part of me now.
Everybody's probably thinking that Jordan guy's
terrible person.
Not a very nice person.
Terrible.
What a horrible
Bringing
guy to
up
be
old
around.
wounds.
Jeez, I'm sorry.
No, all my friends who are probably watching this make fun of me for it. They call it my strong hand because it flexes super, super hard. Anytime like this, pick up a cup. We'll give you a demo. That's here. If I want to make it look like that to pick up this other cup, the forearm, look at how flexed it is to come in to do it. That's the amount of flex that's got to be there or it can't be done.
So how does that work when you're doing dumbbell curls and stuff? It doesn't.
Oddly, no problem.
Seriously.
No problem. Bench press, nothing. No issue. Doing anything with like a heavy amount of weight. It's all fine motor movement stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't work.
Wow.
So that's why you're so jacked, because you can only lift heavy weights.
I can only lift weights.
Gotcha. That's a good problem.
If you guys want a secret on how to
just break your hand.
Big and buff.
Just break your hand.
So you can only lift heavy weights.
That'll do it.
We don't advise that.
No, please don't do that.
It's not sponsored by either sponsor.
If you're worried about your weightlifting skills, please come see us at UFC Gym Whitestown.
Right.
Follow us at UFC Gym Whitestown on Instagram and Facebook, as well as our YouTube channel, UFC Gym Indy, and then Twitter at UFC Gym Indy as well. So, I had an injury with my hand back when I was a kid because I punched my brother in the head.
That
Nice.
happened.
Yeah. So, and it wasn't good form. So I'm glad I'm with UFC now. I think it was fate brought me to this point.
What did he do?
With UFC Gym.
Did he deserve it?
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
That's always the first question.
It's an older brother, right? So,
He's older too. Nice.
I think we were fighting about video games or something like that. Old school N64 video game fight with your brother,
Of course.
And instead of running this time, I decided I'm going to fight back. And I didn't know how to punch, so I took my hand in a fist and I just started hitting him in the head.
Hammer. Yeah.
Hammer fist, right? And broke this hand. It still got a little bump on there. Never really healed that well. So then when I was playing basketball, I had this cast, and I had to learn how to use my left hand.
Nice.
And I got really good at left-handed layups, little left-handed hook shots, things like that, because I was always a bigger kid until everybody grew up around me and I got in high school. So secretly, you don't really deal with much as a kid, so I'm not going to put that on par with what you guys have been through. But, when I was running cross-country at IPFW, I remember running in regionals for Bloomington.
Go
down in
Dons.
Bloomington, right? Yeah, go Dons, although I'm a Greyhound, bark.
Oh.
So, so running down in Bloomington for regionals in cross-country, I got through a couple miles. You do an 8K and you do a 10K. So you go 5 miles or 6.2 miles.
I don't
depending
do
on the
either
race,
of those.
right?
No of them. No of them.
We've all heard those terms, right? So running about 3.5 miles into the race, I felt a little burn, a little sting on the side of my right leg. Didn't think too much of it until I was limping across the finish line to finish the race. And it turned out I tore an IT band, just a minor tear in my IT band. And I decided not to go surgery route. Right. I just wanted to let it heal on its own, trying to be smart about it. Took about 2 years off. And I had a different turn of events when it came to recovering in the mental aspect. Right. Alcohol was a big thing. Partying back in college, that was my kind of vice, my cripple or my crutch when it came to that. So that was the wrong way to take that. Took a long time to come back from that. Took me about 4 years to actually get back into competitive running. Was never the same when it came to that. Did a couple marathons, did a couple minis. Now I won't do anything more than a mini marathon. Not because of injury, but because I'm lazy. The time it takes to train for a marathon, I don't want to do that.
Better than I've ever done. Josh, you ever ran one?
I've not done a marathon, but I've done Tough Mudders, which
That's like 3 miles or
That's
something,
tough.
right?
those are like halves. Those are like those are short ones. You can do. They're like 13, so they're if you do the full one. But you're breaking up with obstacles, so
Yeah.
I can handle that. But
Yeah.
that's the most I've done is just almost a half.
Donovan's got some long distance running under his belt.
I ran one 5K,
There you go.
7th place. No big deal.
Yeah, like 19 minutes.
Yeah.
Solid.
Out of 7 or
No, come on now. It was out of like 3 million or something. I can't remember the number exactly.
Oh, okay.
I think it was 300, but who's counting?
okay.
Right. You are.
Right.
Sounds like. 7th place, not bad.
Well,
Yeah, I mean recovery. Back to the
Back
subject.
to what are we talking about? Injuries.
Right.
Sports injuries.
Right.
yeah, that was. I think we've all done that though. That's had the athletic background you're talking about, the feeling sorry for yourself and struggling with it. I mean, that was my first I mean, even my last ones, I said that I got better at it, and I definitely did. But especially that first couple of weeks, I mean, you can't really do much. So it's just about resting, especially knees and stuff. So I mean, those are the worst. You can't do anything. You can't go to the gym. That's my stress relief. That's my happy playing. I play basketball, like I said, every week. I do martial arts. I do this. I do that. Like play lift and do that. And you can't do any of it. Then you just get. It's a struggle no matter what. So that's always the struggle. It's gonna be that way regardless, but you just make those goals and you adapt. And I mean, luckily and not luckily that I've had so many that I've been able to learn. So if you only had a couple, then it's probably gonna be tougher the first couple times regardless. But yeah, I mean, the mental aspect is just as important, like you said, though. I mean, we've all been there where you struggle, like you said, and go through it and feel sorry for yourself and do it, but you just gotta snap out of it and pick it up and start going.
Yep. Eventually, and it always helps to have a support system, right? If you have people, you have family, you have loved ones in your life that help you get back up on your feet when it comes to that is definitely a very important thing to consider during that recovery process. Lean on them. Don't try to do everything yourself.
Yep.
Right, because this is not going to work.
Shout out to my dog Sierra for being there for me through all my recovery. She's always down to cuddle and make me feel better. Yeah, bark.
Is it a greyhound?
Nope, she is a lab and Shih Tzu mix, but
I have a Shih Tzu.
Yeah, she's been there for almost all my surgeries, so she knows, so that helps.
Chris,
and some Netflix binging.
What's a Shih Tzu? Is that the little?
Yeah.
Is that the yips?
No, they're not very yippy.
Those are Chihuahuas.
You're thinking like Chihuahua, French Bulldog, things like that.
Could you put your dogs in a bag?
No,
No.
she's 35 pounds. Mine's 35 pounds.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
mine's about 20.
All right.
I mean,
I was picturing like
I
a
can't.
5. Right?
Right.
Well, normal Shih Tzus probably. Yeah, his is 20 or so. Mine
You got
was
a big one.
Yeah, it was a lab and a Shih Tzu
okay.
mix. So yeah,
Yeah,
You
it's
left
a
out the
mix.
lab.
Yeah.
Right. No, he
It
said
is.
that.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know how you
I
have
missed it.
headphones on.
I
you
couldn't
missed
hear it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Producer Chris, no need to bleep those out because Shih Tzu is a type of dog. Okay, so we're not
You
cussing.
put a link into a Shih
Right.
Tzu or something here, probably.
Or a picture.
Be cool.
So he's definitely amused.
The live
about
audience love that.
So yeah, and that's the other thing was for your first surgery. Think about that. Did you have Netflix?
I did. So that was my first intro to Walking Dead and Breaking Bad.
see,
I
that was
binged
my
both of
follow-up.
those. Yep. So
Nice.
Breaking Bad wasn't. It was like halfway through, I think. Actually, I think it was probably about 3 seasons deep or 4 seasons. I watched all of them within a couple days, and then Walking Dead was only a couple seasons into, and that's the first time I watched either of those. And Breaking Bad's my favorite show ever.
Absolutely.
Now, so
Number one.
Great
yeah,
show.
I watch it almost every time I have a surgery now. When I'm stuck, I just rewatch it again. Just all right, well, now it's a routine. So I watch Breaking Bad, start over, and watch it all over again. So I've watched it 8 or 9 times all the way through.
Favorite character in Breaking Bad?
Well, that's tough because
Gus.
Tough.
we love
Tough, right?
we love Jesse and Walt,
You
but
said Gus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, Gus,
Yeah.
Gustavo
Fring.
Fring? Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a bad dude.
Yeah. I think it's pretty consensus as to who is the least favorite, right?
Say it. No.
Skylar.
Skylar did become
100%.
yeah, she kind of.
Yeah.
I love Hank too. So
Producer Chris,
Hank's from my
agree?
hometown.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep, Hank Dean Norris. He's from my hometown.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, South
yeah.
Bend.
You know, he
He
brews his own beer now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Just
Sure,
like
it's
in the
good.
show.
We won't ever try it because we don't drink alcohol, but I would like to hear from somebody that has tried
That's
it.
right. See if it's any good.
Schrader Brew, right?
Yeah, Schrader Brew. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Donovan, did you have Netflix after your first surgery?
I don't think so. I think I binged all the South Parks at that time.
Mm.
Like I didn't even was into the show, but people always talked about it. So I was like, I got to get in. I'll just watch all 38 seasons or however many there are.
Solid. That probably kept you busy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think. You know, back, some of the younger people in the audience probably don't realize this, but Netflix was discs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back
Like
a while
Redbox.
ago.
At
right?
one point, there was no Netflix.
Right.
That was a
Right.
thing.
Yeah, we had it rough back in the day.
It was a Blockbuster. You
Producer
had to
Chris doesn't
go
remember those
get it.
days, but
Do you ever go to a Blockbuster, Producer Chris?
Oh, wow. He's nodding his head yes.
Mhm.
For those of you that can't see. Yeah. Wow.
Family
That
Video
kinda
was the
blew my
turn up
mind.
on Friday nights.
Hey.
Yeah. There's one actually in Kokomo.
Yeah, there's a couple still
Yeah,
alive.
yeah.
Those are the only ones thriving.
Now we're not sponsored by Family Videos. We're not trying to plug it at all. I mean,
Yet.
obviously it's doing really well.
Mhm.
So
They survive.
There's no
They're doing
need for
something
us
right.
to plug them. But yeah, I remember getting Seasons of Las Vegas on DVD back in the day. Josh Duhamel, shout out.
Shout
I had
out.
kind of a man crush on him back in the
Oh,
day.
yeah?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Yeah. He's in the Transformers movies and
Oh,
all
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Josh Duhamel. Insert
Yeah.
a picture
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Can we do that? Is that
Yeah.
allowed?
You'd know if
I'm
you
sure.
saw him.
Mm.
Wow, this is really great
Let's
great
look.
podcast
Yeah.
content right here.
Sports.
We went off the
injuries.
rails.
No, we're talking about things to just kind of
Occupy the mind.
occupy the mind,
Yeah.
help you recover, help you relax, right? You can't be up and working in the gym all the time,
No.
right?
Injuries are gonna happen. They
Yes.
can happen. Even if you do everything right, they can happen.
It's definitely good, whether even if you're not into shows or read books, whatever you can do.
Yeah.
That definitely helps during that recovery time when you need to rest. I mean, rest is going to be as important or close to as important as anything else during those times. So yeah, I mean it's good stuff. So if you haven't seen Breaking Bad, which I don't know who hasn't at this point, you definitely
Right.
got to watch it. And
Right.
if you get injured,
Right. And a few ways. Last thing we'll touch on today would be a few things to prevent an injury, right? There is a concept called, functional movement. Functional training is a great thing to do. You'll hear that more and more as the baby boomer generation becomes more prevalent in a gym setting, right? And that's a lot of squats, hinges at the waist, squat complexes, total body movements, push-pull movements, things like that are going to help you with everyday life. It's going to be exercises that are going to transition to everyday life, right? We are always squatting down. We're always picking things up. We're always deadlifting things off the ground. At least we should be, right? Not stooping, but we're using our legs for most of our movements, proper body positioning, pushing and pulling things left and right. So
also don't punch your siblings in the head. That'll
Yeah.
help prevent
Yeah.
some injuries as
No,
well.
Yep.
if you do, have good form at least.
Right.
Don't hammer fist them.
Practice at UFC gym.
Disclaimer:
Yeah.
we don't promote violence here at UFC Gym in Indianapolis.
Right.
No.
Right. We're not a fighting gym.
Mm-mm.
Right. We don't have an octagon. We're
But
not
you can
in the
hit
ring
heavy
hitting
bags.
people. If somebody gets hit in the face at our gym, I will give you $1,000 because it's not going to happen.
Wow.
And I don't have $1,000. That's how confident I am with
It's a
that.
good deal.
Right. Now, please, Donovan and Josh, don't go around punching each other's
Yeah, I was
face.
gonna say, Dom and I got a sparring match set up for day one, so we'll split that 500 and 500. Thank you. No, but yeah, and then just some of the stuff that we touched on our last podcast too. The recovery aspect of the sleep, and saunas are great for recovery, getting that out there for both your muscles and just detoxing in general for that. Those are great. Massages, the Hypervolt, which we'll have those, the massage guns. We're going to have a plethora of things in our recovery center that's going to help hopefully prevent any of these injuries that we've gone through. Injuries are going to happen no matter what. As for some people, sometimes it just happens, but there's definitely all these steps that we can take to try to go through some of the stuff that Jordan said, and then kind of the other recovery aspects we talked about, like rolling out. Even as simple as a foam roller, which you can get for cheap, $10 or something, $15, you can get some foam rollers and do those to help. All that stuff. So
Super cheap. Definitely a lot of ways to take care of your body for cheap. I don't know how easy accessible they are nowadays because of everything going on, big home workout push. But, most common areas that you'd find injuries in a gym would be a shoulder, wrist, lower back, hips, ankles, things like that. So really making sure you're flexible as well, keeping up with your flexibility. The more limber you are, the less injury prone you are, right? Functional movement. And yoga is a great thing for that.
yeah, yoga's great, which we have yoga at UFC Gym. We'll have yoga, power yoga, and hot yoga. So
Correct.
we do take beyond just our recovery room. We will have some great recovery classes. We'll even do like some stretching stuff. So we're going to have a lot of that. It's going to be huge that's one of the biggest reasons and things I was most excited about when I came on to UFC Gym was I saw all these recovery aspects that we have, and my background of having all these injuries and all that. That was one of the things I'm most excited about that we have, is having all of these, the recovery room, all of the knowledgeable people that we brought in to help with these that have these specialties and all of that, and the great people that we partner with as far as like the Normatec and the Hypervolts and all of those with these, having these, the dotFIT supplements, to have all those resources on there to hopefully prevent me from having any more of these injuries, and then all of our members. It's going to be huge. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Final thoughts, Donovan?
I think this is another very successful, fun podcast that we had today.
Absolutely. Yeah. We talk about some good stuff. Producer Chris, thumbs up. Can we get a thumbs up?
Mm.
Oh, nice. 2 thumbs
Double.
up. Hey, I didn't even ask for that. Well, team, thank you for joining us for our second podcast. We are back on Saturday with Weekend Warrior podcast. We're going to talk about your traditional rec league, people like us, your weekend warriors, people that still think they're athletes after all these years, because we are. We want to train that way. We're going to talk nutrition. We're going to talk supplements. We're going to talk taking care of your body. We're going to have more fun conversations about nonsense too, because that's what we do. So thank you, team, for joining us. Please be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at UFC Gym Whitestown, as well as our YouTube page, UFC Gym Indy. Also check out dotFIT for supplements, and our UFC Gym Whitestown is soon to be opening in June. So thanks again, team, and we will see you Saturday. We are not live.